Good morning and welcome to Curly McKee's first YouTube video. So I wanted to start out by talking about why I wanted to do this. So my husband is black and so our daughter is biracial. And so probably a couple months after she was born, I wanted to really learn how to care for her hair in the best possible way. So I dove deep into it. I started watching YouTube videos, looking on Pinterest, doing as much research as I possibly could about her hair care. You know, when she's only a couple months old, her hair hadn't grown that much, even though she was born with a full head of hair. You know, there's just not a lot that you really need to do when they're a couple months old. When she got to be maybe 8 or 10 months old is when I really started to introduce her hair to the first products that weren't just like an oil based product. I wanted to start this because there are other white mothers out there who have daughters of different ethnicities that, you know, my hair's up today, but my hair is very straight. I get out of the shower, I brush it. Sometimes I blow dry it, sometimes I straighten it. You know, has become much more rare nowadays. But, you know, I just didn't know how to care for curly, textured hair. And so I want to take everything that I've learned and I've absorbed over the past, you know, almost 3 years. She's 3.5. And, you know, put it out there so that it's accessible to other people. So what I wanted to start with today was my top 10 things that you need when working with, you know, curly hair. So her hair is curly, it's not very coarse, but I wanted to talk about the things that staples that I would put out there as things that you need to start off with. So let's start off with number 1. So the first thing I would say would be a spray bottle. And so it doesn't have to be fancy. I think I got this at Sally's, but I'm sure you can get them at the dollar store or anything like that. But having a spray bottle right next to where I do her hair every night makes such a difference. So my daughter has low porosity hair, which again I'll explain more in another video, but her hair has to be wet in order for it to absorb any of the moisture that I'm going to put on it. If I don't get it wet first, it just sits on top of her hair, makes it heavy. So this is something that I always have right next to me when I'm doing her hair, and especially if I'm doing it in sections, if I'm doing braids. Braids are difficult to do when they're dry, so if I'm doing part of her head, the other part is kind of drying, so I, you know, even if she just got out of the bath, I continue to keep it moisturized so that it's really absorbing all the product. It has more slip, it's easier to deal with. So that would be number 1. The second thing I would say is I have a ton of different towels always with me. And the reason is, you know, I put a microfiber one at the base of her neck as I'm doing it so that her PJs or her clothes that she's wearing aren't getting soaking wet. I would have another one to wipe my hands with. I also do a technique that's called wet plopping. Again, it's something I'll get into in a later video, but these sorts of towels, to always having those on hand is really helpful. So that would be number 2. So the third staple that I always have is a leave-in conditioner. So I'm gonna do a video about my top 10 favorite products, and this is definitely one of them. But you know, this works for my daughter's hair. It might not work for somebody else's hair, but leave-in conditioners are crucial to maintaining the moisture. Curls love moisture, and so I add moisture to her hair every day. Curls love moisture, and so I add moisture to her hair every day, whether it's a leave-in conditioner, an oil, but definitely a leave-in conditioner is a heavy part of her routine daily. The next product that, you know, doesn't have to be this one specifically, but definitely some sort of a mask. So this is, again, one of my favorites that I'm currently using. You might kind of see, you know, how similar, you might see a trend with these products. And again, I'll get into more of the different masks that I like, but this is the one I'm using currently. And we deep condition once a week. you know, obviously there are times where things come up, and you know, over the summer I had a ton of weddings, so it wasn't as regular, but I really try to maintain doing a mask or a deep conditioning treatment once a week. That has really made a huge difference because her hair is able to take that time and really soak in all of the moisture, and it really has helped with her hair growth and how healthy her hair is, the strength of her hair. You see a lot less breakage when you do it. Especially, I live in upstate New York, so the winters are very dry, and so winter is especially important to really do the deep conditioning treatments. So the next product I want to talk about is called a Tangle Teaser. And so that's this brush right here. And so I got this again at Sally's. I don't know exactly how much it was, but not very expensive. But this has been really nice to really rake through the product in her hair. One of the first things that I learned when looking into curly hair is that you should never brush dry curly hair. I have a coworker who has curly hair, and I went in the next day and I'm like, did you know you're not supposed to brush curly hair? She's like, yeah, hello. And people with curly hair, they get it, and that's just something that they know, but me having, you know, straight hair, I never knew it. So this Tangle Teaser, again, I only use it when her hair is wet, and most of the time it's when I'm really trying to get that product on every single strand and really get it through. But the bristles are really flexible, so they don't get stuck into the curls and break them or create frizz, things like that. So they're really flexible. It's really nice. It feels nice on your hair, so I use it on my head sometimes too. So that's a product that I highly recommend. I got it at Sally's. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon, anything like that. The next thing I think that you should definitely have is a rat tail comb. And so this, again, I bought at Sally's, but you can get them at Walmart. I actually want to find one with a metal tip because I think that when separating her hair, that just gives you a more precise part. But you know, this one was a couple dollars maybe, again at Sally's. I've never really used this part of it. I only use the rat tail end of it. And the reason that it's helpful is in creating sections. So I love to do braids on my daughter's hair, and even doing pigtails or bantu knots, or you know, a lot of the different styles that I'm going to do in an upcoming video, you'll see me use this a lot, and it really creates a nice precise line when creating the different sections, and that it just, you know, aesthetically looks nicer, you know, than you see, you know, professional hairdressers use these all the time, and it's just to really create that nice straight line. The next thing I'm going to talk about, the next two things are just kind of, I wouldn't really say hacks, but you're going to start to accumulate them, and they are some nice bows. This is a little princess one, and it's just a clip, as you see on the back. Accumulating these and, you know, finding these at the dollar store or at Walmart or things like that is really great, because then, you know, you put it in a ponytail, and that just kind of is something nice to kind of cover up the rubber bands. You know, sometimes, such as life, and her hair is on day 3 or 4, and I just have to throw it in a high bun or a high ponytail, and this is just a nice addition to that because you don't want to see the rubber band or whatever. And so same thing with the next product that I'm going to say is lots of headbands. I have lost more headbands than I had ever owned before having my daughter. But again, you know, my husband coaches basketball and I work full time, and so does my husband. And so sometimes I just don't have the time to really put a lot of effort into her hair. And so headbands and bows and different things like that are just easy ways, you know, when she's at school or things like that, these keep her hair out of her face so she's not constantly going like this, rubbing it, different things like that. So finding cute finding cute headbands is always really, really fun, you know, and it's fun to go to the store with my daughter and say, ooh, let's pick out, you know, a new headband, and trying to find one that matches her outfit has been, you know, it's just a nice bonding time that we have. The next thing I'm gonna talk about, and this is gonna look a little silly, but I got, my husband pulled out this tackle box, and that is where I keep her beads, and you'll see a little section in here for rubber bands. I have another like mason jar where I keep rubber bands, and I buy, you can buy these rubber bands in bags of 100 or 500. I like to get the different colored ones so I can match them with the beads. But those are really key because like I said before, I like to do braids, I like to do bantu knots, and so I always have a ton of these. I always have a ton of these rubber bands lying around that help secure all of the work that I just did into place. The reason it's nice to have a tackle box is because then each of the colors are separated. Like I said, my husband coaches basketball, so if it's, game time, then I'll do like green and white because those are his colors. If it's Valentine's Day, I'll do red. Around Christmas, I did red and green, so she loves the pink ones. You'll also see this tool, which actually one of my coworkers who has biracial daughters gave me my first one. She was like, it was $1. So I've never actually bought one of these, but this is a lifesaver when it comes to doing beads. And I was scared of beads at first. I just, I went to school with kids who wore beads, but I never really understood it. I never took the time to understand it before I had a biracial daughter, but she loves wearing beads. She gets so excited in her school. She goes up to her teachers and she shakes her head, and she loves showing them off. So it's been, it can be a little bit time consuming, but putting them in beads is also it's a protective style also. So it keeps the moisture in for a couple days. So it takes me some time to put beads in, but I know that I'm not gonna have to touch her hair really for, 5 to 7 days. And so I'll do a video on how to use this, but in short, you kind of, put the beads on this tool, and then you weave her hair through this end, and then they just kind of slide up, and then you secure with one of the rubber bands. So this has been really key. So having some sort of compartment, we use a tackle box, but I'm sure you can find something like this at the dollar store or Walmart. But it's just something, I know where it is. It has everything that I would need if I'm gonna sit down and do them. And so this has been really good. So the last thing that I would say start to pick up are books. So this is my favorite. I bought this, I can't remember if she was just born or I bought this while I was pregnant, but it's by Taye Diggs, who some of you may know has a son with Idina Menzel. And so the story behind this book is he wanted to write a book that said, I'm biracial, I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm both. And so just kind of being mixed, you don't have to identify with one or the other. And so just reading books that talk about being biracial or having curly hair. I always have magazines on our coffee table that have women of color and biracial women or black women or, things that she feels that she can identify with are always surrounding her. And I think that that's really important. Because I'm white, I always saw people who looked like me on TV, in magazines, out in the world. And so I never gave it much thought. So I was reading her this book and she just points out, she goes, Mama, her hair looks just like me. And to see her acknowledge that really made me realize what an impact that makes on a little girl. You watch The Bachelor, and I know it's ridiculous. It's, my guilty pleasure is The Bachelor. But, one of the women said in there, there weren't any princesses that looked like me when I was growing up. And so just being surrounded by superheroes and princesses and the Serena Williams and the Oprahs of the world, I think is so important. So those are my top 10 things. I think I did 10. So those are my top 10 things. I didn't get into specifics of, you know, exactly what type of leave-in conditioner or exactly what type of hair products or things like that to get, because I'll get into some of those that work for me later, but it's also things that work for me don't work for other people, you know, and things that work for me in the summer don't work for my daughter's hair in the winter, and you know, so it really is trial and error, and I've just tried to have fun with it. I'm a bit of a product hoarder now, and I have to stop myself from going into Sally's and just like loading up on a ton of stuff, or walking into CVS and immediately going to that section and just wanting to try new things because I have enough already. So thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited to be done with my first video, and there will be more to come. So thank you and have a great rest of your day.